Today's lesson is about number lines, absolute values, and additive inverses. So we need a little bit of background information before we can start. And let's start with some vocabulary. So an integer is the set of whole numbers and their opposites, including 0. So what you see right here, this is an integer number line. We have 0 in the center. We have all our positive numbers to the right of 0 and all of our negative numbers to the left of 0. Now, rational numbers, those are numbers that are made up of any number that can be changed into a fraction. So those are those little bits and pieces between the integers that you see. So things like -5 and 1/8 or +7 and 1/12 are considered rational numbers. All right, I want you to try to write an integer that represents the following situations. So you're going to read the situation, you're going to pause me, you're going to write in your notebook what you think that integer will be. You'll do that for all three problems, and then you'll come back for checking. So go ahead and pause me now. All right, so we have a temperature of 5 degrees below 0. So below 0 is going to give us a negative integer, -5 degrees. An average rainfall of 3.5 inches above normal. That's a positive integer. Now you can write that with a plus sign, or you can just put 3 1/8 inches. And then 8 strokes under par, that's going to be a negative number, so that would be -8. Notice that we could have a number line like we had last time on the last slide, where we had 0 in the center, we had the positives to the right and the negatives to the left. That's called a horizontal number line. But sometimes it's also good to think about a vertical number line, sort of like a thermometer. And in this case, you'd have 0 in the center. You'd have the positives above and the negatives below. And so when you see words like below and above and under, sometimes you want to pay attention to a vertical number line. There are going to be times when I ask you to model an integer. So there's two ways of doing that, and we're going to start with this first one. We're going to use pluses and minuses. So if I wanted to model a +3, I could do it this simply. 1 positive, 2 positives, 3 positives, that gives me 3. But if you want to be a little bit fancier, you could use something called a 0 pair. So I could do 1 positive, 2 positives, 3 positives, and then I could add something called a 0 pair, which is a positive and negative together. That 0 pair is going to cancel, and this is just another way of writing +3. All right, let me try one more time. Going to get even fancier this time. +1, +2, +3. I could add a 0 pair. 3 plus 0 is still 0. I could add another 0 pair. 3 plus 0 is still 3. So that's 3 ways of showing a +3. One is very basic. The other 2 are a little fancier, and they utilize something called a 0 pair. All right, let's see. If I want to model a -8, I could be pretty simple. I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 negatives. There's -8. If I wanted to be a little fancier, I could put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 negatives and a 0 pair. It looks a little different, but it's still -8. And if I wanted to get even fancier, I might go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plus 1 0 pair plus another 0 pair. It looks different, yet it's still equal to -8. Now, how fancy you want to get is totally up to you. Another way to model an integer is with a number line. You can do a horizontal number line, and I would put 0, -1, -2, and I would graph that. Or I could use a vertical number line, and I might have 0, -1, -2, put a dot. If I wanted to model 12, I could use a horizontal number line. I might have 10, 11, 12, 13, and put my dot. That's a model of positive 12. If I wanted to use a vertical number line, maybe I have 10, 11, 12, 13, and I put a dot. So there's two ways that you can model integers. You can use pluses and minuses, or you can use number lines. Another term that you might hear is called absolute value, and so we have to understand what it is. And that is the distance a number is away from 0. Now, distances can't ever be negative. You can't walk a -5 steps, or you can't drive a -40 miles. It's simply the direction you're going, but distance is always going to be a positive number. And so your absolute values will always be positive. And when you look for it, its symbol is two parallel lines surrounding the number. So if you look, here's our integer, -4 1/3. If I wanted it to be an absolute value, I would simply put those brackets around it. So here I have the absolute value of -4 1/3. Now if I thought about that on a number line, I might put 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 1/3 is about right here. An absolute value is the distance from 0 to that number. And so it appears that it is 4 1/3 spaces. So the absolute value of 4 1/3 is a positive 4 1/3. Time for you to practice again. I want you to solve these three problems in your notebook. You're going to pause me while you're working, and when you're ready to come back for checking, go ahead and start me up again. All right, so we need a number that has an absolute value of 3, and there's actually two numbers. So if you look down here at this number line, I need a number that is 3 spaces away from 0 in both directions. And so a 3 and a -3 have an absolute value of 3. The second one, the answer to the absolute value of 8, I'm going to go ahead and change colors. So my 8 is right here, and my 0 is right here, and I want to know the distance it is away, and it looks like it is 8 spaces away. And since we can't have a negative distance, it's a positive 8. All right, I'm going to change my color again. So this last one, I want the answer to 2 plus the absolute value of -3. So this 2, I can just use that. But I think we can figure this out. So -3 is right here, and we want to know how far away from 0 it is, and it looks like it's 3 spaces. So when I add these two things together, my answer is 5. So here are the answers that you should have in your notebook. More vocabulary. All right, so we're talking additive inverses, and generally you're thinking about numbers that are opposites of each other. So they are opposite of each other on the number line. They have the same absolute value. So for example, this -6 and +6, those are opposites because if I drew my number line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. They are the same distance away from 0, but on opposite sides of the number line. -1 3/4 and +1 3/4 are opposites or additive inverses, and so are 10 and -10. All right, so we're going to use our number line to help us put integers in order. And as I'm looking at this, I see I forgot a comma. So we have the integers 0, 1, negative 5 and 2/3. So I'm going to draw a horizontal number line. I'm going to put 0 in the center. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, and negative 5. And I'm simply going to graph them. So I have 0, I have 1, I have negative 5, and I have 2/3, which is about right there. And so I want to go least to greatest. You can think about this L maybe as left, because if I want to go least to greatest, I really want to go left to right. So I'm going to look at the first number here. That's my smallest one. And then the next one. And the next one. And the final one. So my numbers in order from smallest to greatest are negative 5, 0, 2/3, and 1. All right, you're going to do some work in your notebook again. It says I want you to make a number line that goes from negative 10 to positive 10. And then you're going to use that number line to graph each pair of numbers and decide which is larger. So is the first number greater than, less than, or equal to the second number? And give me a reason why. So you are going to pause me, going to do that work, and then come back when you're ready for checking. All right, so this first pair, 5 and negative 1, you're going to find that 5 is greater than negative 1, and the reason is because 5 is further to the right on a number line. Numbers that are further to the right are larger. The second one, 0 is less than 7 because 0 is farther to the left on a number line, and numbers that are to the left are lesser or smaller. All right, last one. Negative 2 is less than 0 for the same reason. Negative 2 is farther to the left on a number line than 0 is.